I came to know George after the trial, and he was a basket case for a long time. I mean, he was literally suffering PTSD because the state of Florida, George Zimmerman merely defended his life, and the state of Florida tried to put him in prison for the rest of his life. George Zimmerman, who considered being a police officer, a prosecutor himself, who was studying criminal justice, who volunteered for his neighborhood watch program. He was a good guy. His neighbors loved him. Neighbors of all races testified at trial. They thought he was great. He was the helpful guy in the community. And the state of Florida tried to railroad him into a life sentence when there was zero evidence inconsistent with self-defense. But because of the propaganda, this was an opportunity for a lot of value to be created in terms of money for people like Benjamin Crump, attorney Benjamin Crump, who is a racial and racist firebrand in these kinds of cases, part of what I call the racial grievance industrial complex. But it's not just money that can be made, and Crump made plenty. He got a quick settlement from the apartment community in which Zimmerman was living and in which he was a neighborhood watch volunteer. They settled quick, so that was a quick dose of money for Ben Crump. But also, there's value to be created in terms of political capital, power. So the original prosecutor in this case, the prosecutor in the jurisdiction where this event took place, he thoroughly investigated for weeks this case. They had a series of team meetings between the prosecutor and the police investigators. They looked at all the evidence. And they couldn't find any evidence inconsistent with self-defense. And Zimmerman's narrative of self-defense was consistent, both internally consistent with itself every time he told it, and he told it frequently, generally without legal counsel present, which is not advisable. But it was also consistent with all the eyewitness testimony and all the physical evidence. This was self-defense. And that prosecutor refused to bring charges. But once Al Sharpton and Benjamin Crump got involved, once this became a politically energized case, the political pressure on the prosecutor to bring charges became so great that guess what he did? If you're thinking he broke down and brought charges against George Zimmerman, you're mistaken. He quit. He resigned rather than unethically bring criminal charges against George Zimmerman. Now, what happened then? Well, the governor of Florida now had an opportunity. He could appoint essentially a special prosecutor. And he found one in a different jurisdiction in Florida, Angela Corey. These are elected prosecutorial positions. Angela Corey was in the Jacksonville area of Florida. And prosecutor Angela Corey had a big problem. She had a big problem with the Black demographic in her community that would be asked to vote for her, because prosecutor Angela Corey had brought charges against some Black people in that community that made her very unpopular with the Black demographic.